So I kind of opened a can of worms with y'all today. So welcome to my channel, Outspoken Samantha. If you're new here, welcome. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. If you're returning, welcome back. Thank you so much for the support. On my channel, I like to give my opinion and perspective on things that are happening today, things that I think actually matter to everyday people, especially those of us trying to raise kids in the insanity known as today's society. I do like to talk about current events and politics, and my perspective does tend to be more on the conservative side of things. Please be sure to like this video, leave a comment below, and also share it with others. Help me to grow this channel so hopefully I can reach more people that value logic, reason, and sanity. Also, be sure to find me on Rumble under Outspoken Samantha in the event that YouTube decides I have violated their community standards and chooses to kick me off their platform forever. That being said, let's get into today's topic. So welcome back to my channel. I know it has been probably over a week since I uploaded my last video. Since I started this channel, it's kind of been my goal to try and upload at least 3 to 4 times a week if I can. I have since started a full-time job, so sometimes it's a little more difficult to squeeze the time in to try and get a video out, at least something that's even worth posting. So that's been a time constraint, but also I'm sure a lot of you have experienced it lately. Everybody's sick. Everybody is sick. We've got colds, we've got bronchitis going around, we've got RSV going around. There's just something. And I feel like just the last month, it has just been rotating through my house, through my kids, my husband, if he finally caught it just the other day. But I was going through probably a couple of weeks where just trying to talk. I couldn't talk without coughing, and I'm still I'm finally kind of at the end of it, but I can still feel like my throat getting irritated. And so I'm going to try really hard not to cough in this one, but it was just I was like, I give up. I'm not even going to try to record anything, to comment on anything. I mean, I know that there's a lot of disasters and stuff that happened last week, but there's going to be plenty of disasters to focus on when I'm able to actually speak again. And of course, politics, current events, the media, it has not disappointed. So there's always plenty of things to cover and plenty of things to talk about. So I just decided to kind of let my voice have a rest. And I've pretty much been on a strict diet of cough suppressant, cough drops, and cough medicine, and ibuprofen, and all the meds and all the vitamins for the last week. So it does feel nice to finally feel like a human being again. Do you ever feel like when you get sick, you're kind of in the middle of it, you feel like garbage, you feel really tired, you have no energy, and you're like, what was it like to have energy? What was I like when I wasn't feeling like crap? Have I always been this tired and this lazy? And you just start to feel like that's your normal. Maybe I'm just being dramatic, but that's kind of how I feel when I get sick. So it's that much better when you suddenly feel like yourself again, and you're like, oh, I'm not a lazy bum. It's not normal for me to just sit around and not want to do anything. So I'm just so grateful to be feeling better, to finally be at the light at the end of the tunnel and just kind of be through all of this. So anyway, that being said, I'm glad that I can finally sit down and record something today. And I can't say this topic that I want to touch on is really monumental in any sense, but I do think that there are some things that are relevant in kind of the way that we have conversations about current events and issues. And I know that we've all experienced this to an extent, especially when trying to have a conversation with somebody that we disagree with on a particular issue. And I just thought it was really interesting. And I posted this particular tweet that I saw on Twitter, and I wasn't expecting the reaction that I got. I screenshot it and I posted it on my Facebook page, and I was not expecting to get the reaction that I did. And I found myself trying to defend my position. And then after a while, I felt like I really didn't clarify what my position was on this thing. So anyway, so that's probably why it led to some of the backlash that happened that I wasn't expecting. So anyway, so I saw on Twitter, now that I've had this big lead up to this tweet, this can of worms that I opened, this tweet that just, really got people fired up today. On Twitter, I saw this tweet. It was by Isabella Maria DeLuca. I don't know. She has 175,000 followers on Twitter. Apparently she's somebody. I don't know who she is. Anyway, so she posted this thing that said, Republicans want to ban children from drag shows. They should also ban this, end quote. And then she had a picture underneath it. See, there you go. She had this picture underneath it of like 3 little girls that were in like pageant wear. And one of them was in like a swimwear. One of them was in like kind of a dance wear. A lot of these images look like they had been taken from the show Toddlers and Tiaras. So I'm sure we're all at least slightly familiar with that. But she said, you know, they should also ban this, pointing to these little girls that are in this, you know, really high glitz pageant. So I'm just going to show you just the tweet real quick. Once I saw this tweet, I thought it was stupid, for one thing. But for another, you know, what I did was I retweeted it onto my page and just said, hey, you're basically just trying to stretch to find hypocrisy on the other side, really, so that you can justify not having to condemn kids participating in drag shows, essentially. But when I posted it on my Facebook page, my question was, like, what's the argument here? Like, why do we need to ban kids pageants? I'm not understanding the comparison here. And I got quite a bit of feedback. We'll call it feedback. A lot of comments, people saying, yes, we should absolutely ban kids pageants. Like, this is not something they should be doing. A lot of people that had very strong opinions about it, which I understand to a point. But my question, I guess, was coming from my own personal experience with pageants, and, you know, forgetting that not everybody has that same point of reference. So, you know, I wasn't like offended by anything that people were saying, but I realized that I also hadn't clarified exactly like why I was asking that question. So, you know, just to give you a little bit of backstory here, I never did pageants as a kid. It was not something I was ever interested in. I had zero confidence as a kid. I only ever did one pageant in my entire life, and that was in 2019, I believe. I did the Mrs. Colorado pageant, and it was kind of more of a bucket list thing, just to try it, just to do it for fun, and just to say that I did it and then be done with it. And I had a lot of fun. I met some amazing, you know, talented, just really impressive women, you know, not these dingbats that people seem to think that really take over the pageant world, but really accomplished, just amazing women. And it was a lot of fun. It was a great experience, but I also realized that it just wasn't for me. Like, it wasn't something that, you know, a lot of these girls had done it year after year after year. It was something that they really enjoyed doing. I just wasn't interested in doing it again. It just wasn't for me. The things that I wanted to accomplish just really didn't align with spending all this time and energy on pageants. But I saw the value in it for younger girls in, you know, learning stage presence and learning to be in front of an audience and learning public speaking and just gaining an overall confidence in yourself. So I started to look into pageants because I have a 6-year-old daughter. At the time, she was probably 3 or 4 years old. And so I was like, maybe this would be fun for her. Maybe she would want to do it. And, you know, having a daughter, you know, I had 2 boys before I had her. So I was pretty content being a boy mom. And then when I found out my third one was going to be a girl, I was like, well, she's definitely going to be a tomboy. She's not going to be girly at all. She's going to want to do everything that her brothers want to do. And I just kind of like braced myself for the fact that I would have this like little girl that just wanted to like wrestle and play in the mud and stuff. Which she has, and she does quite a bit. She actually really enjoys like wrestling with her dad and her brothers. So, but she's also, she loves all the girly things. She loves the dresses. She loves the makeup. She loves things that are pretty and glittery and fun. And, she's always just been like really entertaining and outgoing. And so it seemed to be something that would suit her. But I had a lot of preconceived notions about pageants because I think a lot of us, our point of reference is this horrendous show, Toddlers and Tiaras, where we see these moms that are so obviously like living vicariously through their daughters. Their daughters are just these little girls that are getting spray tan and wearing tons of makeup and wearing these outfits that they shouldn't be wearing. And, you know, half the time the kids look miserable and you're like, are you really doing it for them? Like, are they really getting anything out of it? So that was like kind of my whole point of reference. for pageants. So when I talked to my husband about it, he, like, that was his point of reference too. He didn't know much about toddlers and tiaras, but what he knew about pageants came from that show. And he was like, I don't want that to be for our daughter. I don't want that for you. And I was like, I'm not going to turn into a pageant mom. So anyway, so from my personal experience, I found pageants that were natural pageants, where girls could wear, like, you know, essentially like a Sunday best dress. You know, they could choose to wear, cause usually there's a couple of different categories. You can wear like casual wear, or if there's a theme like a Christmas pageant, you can wear like a casual Christmas outfit. You go up on stage and sometimes they'll ask you questions. You know, you learn to kind of keep yourself poised and be graceful and things like that. There was one pageant that my daughter did where they actually did like a little interview with her, you know, off stage, and that went towards their scoring and stuff and just asking them questions. And she was little, so of course they were very easy questions. But you know, these natural pageants where they frown on, they don't want your kids to be, your little girls to be wearing makeup. They don't want them to be all dolled up. Like, they want these girls to be focused on who they are naturally, who they are, you know, without all of this extra stuff, and to not feel like their value is, you know, is based on like makeup and glitz and glamour and all these things. So we found those kind of pageants and we had a lot of fun with it. She got some crowns and ribbons and bows and stuff. Honestly, like, from my perspective, and this is probably just a lot of information that you're like, I don't care, but I honestly could have completely skipped the crowning events and the, you know, the awards ceremony, because they'd have like the entire pageant over the course of a couple of hours, and then they would have like this 2 to 3 hour like gap in between the event and the awards ceremony. I honestly could have done without that completely, because I wanted my daughter to go and to have fun, but I didn't want her to worry so much about whether or not she won anything. I just wanted her to have the experience. So like I said, this was my point of reference. Like, I've seen some really positive things come out of pageantry from girls participating in it, the things that they learn. There's, especially as they get into teenage years, you know, there's a lot of opportunities for scholarships. They really do focus on their academics. They, you know, they focus on recognition for, you know, the service that they do in their communities and what their ambitions are and kind of how they're working towards those. So there's a lot of different things that go into it. So I was just like, this really isn't a comparison between that and drag queens, and drag queen story hours for kids. So, you know, so I thought it was a really dumb argument, but I also realized that when I posted it, like, the frame of reference people were looking at was like this aspect of pageantry where kids really are dressed up like little adults, and they really are put in outfits that are inappropriate. They're sexualized in a lot of ways, and I think that is so inappropriate. So those would be glitz pageants. And if we want to ban glitz pageants, or, you know, put stricter rules in place that say, you know, the theme of your kids' outfits has to be child appropriate. Their music has to be child appropriate. You cannot put them in outfits that show their belly or show their butt, and they can't be doing dances where they're shaking their booty or acting like acting like whatever. Like, if, you know, this has to be like a kid-friendly event. So, I mean, I could see us doing away completely with glitz pageants altogether. So, you know, so there were kind of two different things, but that was kind of like the can of worms I opened, because I got a lot of backlash, and I didn't want to feel like I was sitting there like defending my position and justifying something, kind of the way we see the left justify these drag queen story hours and these really explicit events for kids. And I've, you know, seen some really horrifying things, and they just seem to be getting worse and worse and worse. And now, you know, now that we've had these drag queen story hours and, you know, seemingly innocent events where we're just having these grown adults come in and read stories to kids, it seems like the events are just getting worse and worse. And so I don't want it to seem like I'm justifying something, that I'm holding a double standard, that, you know, well, I can see all the good things that go into pageantry, but like, I'm still not going to approve of drag queen events for kids, whereas somebody that does approve of drag queen events for kids could probably say the same thing. But so anyway, you know, so that was kind of where I was coming from. But, you know, whatever your opinions of pageants are, which are opinions that, you're 100% welcome to have, whatever, regardless of anything that I've said. If you're still not convinced, you can still think that they're horrible. Like, I get it, My point is that there was no comparison between pageants and drag queen shows that involve kids. And, the reason that I say that is that there are so many things that I think are positive in nature that can provide a positive growing experience for any number of things. In pageantry, like I said, girls learn how to be in front of an audience. They learn how to conduct themselves in an interview. They learn how to speak in public. They sometimes, like I said, have these scholarship opportunities. A lot of pageants I've seen, as they get older, there are more and more opportunities. But there are parents who take it too far and turn it into something that it's not, where they're doing things that, are really, you really have to question whether or not they're in the best interest of their kid, for whatever reason. And I could see the argument for something positive like, dance or the athleticism of cheerleading and all of these things, that could kind of have those same questions, because there's always, you can see all the positive things that happen with dance and cheerleading, the athleticism, the teamwork, the dedication, the growth, the opportunities that come from that. But you can also see on the other side that there are people that take it too far, that I've seen dance costumes that I think were completely inappropriate for little girls, or dance music that had, inappropriate themes to it. And, it's unfortunate that those things happen, but I don't think that that should be the basis for how we judge these entire sports or these entire events or these things that kids participate in. And the point is that, whether it be pageants or dance or cheerleading, those things are not sexual in nature. That's not the point of them. That's not the theme of them. That's not their purpose at all. Yes, we have people that ruin these things, that take it too far and turn it into something that it's not. But on the flip side, when it comes to drag queen story hours, drag queen events, drag queens by nature, their purpose at their core is are sexual. There is no drag queen that dresses up without some kind of sexual inspiration behind their character or behind the theme of their show, or without sexuality of some kind being at the root of what they're doing. There is no aspect of drag queens or their shows that is not at its center sexualized in some way. That's literally what drag queens are. They are hypersexualized caricatures of women with embellished makeup, exaggerated curves and breasts, and flamboyant sexual expression. Every component of drag is sexual, period. That's what it is. Whereas dance, pageants, cheerleading, they're not intended for this theme. Yes, there are people, again, that turn it into these things, but it's just not a comparison. And people that make these kind of comparisons are really digging as hard as they can to try and find hypocrisy from the other side, like I said, and doing everything they can so that they can refuse to condemn the sexual exploitation of children, that they can refuse to condemn this egregious behavior and these things that we have somehow come to accept as normal, or that we're expected to accept as normal. I condone sexualizing children in every way, shape, or form. Whereas people who bring up these other issues are doing it so, they can spend all of their time and energy trying to wrestle with the fact that their conscience is telling them that they support something sick and evil. And it's a trap that, we really fall into easily these days, when there's constantly this behavior, or the standards are being changed, or the bars are being moved. The goalposts are being moved. That's what I was looking for. When they're constantly changing things and saying, well, this is the new standard for love and acceptance, or this is the new standard for, what's acceptable for kids, or, it's okay because they're going to be exposed to it anyway. When we're trying to speak out against it, they'll say, pull something completely out of thin air that has, nothing to do with it, and say, well, if you don't condemn this, then you can't condemn the thing that I support. And it's completely insane, because here's the thing. Even if we were to ban pageants and to cut them off. Like, I'm just using that as the example because that's what was brought up in this case. But even if we were to ban them, they would not ban drag queen shows. They would not ban drag queen shows for children. They would not ban drag queen story hours. They would not ban porn in schools. They would not ban, having sexual representation in the form of, flags and books and discussions and homework, all of these things. They wouldn't ban any of it. So it doesn't matter if we say, it's like, okay, well, if I ban this, will you condemn this? Will you say that we need to do? No, of course not. They are never going to bend to that. So these conversations are so often a distraction, and here I am talking about it. But I think it's important because it comes up a lot to say that, well, I'm going to pull this thing out of thin air and I'm going to distract you away from the issue, and I'm going to try and make it seem like you're just as bad as I am. When really, it's like you're not making comparisons that are legitimate, that are serious in any way. I just thought it was very interesting. Let me know what your thoughts are. Like I said, I feel like I opened an entire can of worms with this whole comment about pageantry. Let me know what your thoughts are on that exactly, or maybe some other conversations that you've had where people have tried to spin a particular topic and make you feel like, try to make you feel like a hypocrite by bringing up this thing that really has nothing to do with what the core issue is.